The envelope arrived on a Tuesday morning, slipped under my apartment door like a snake waiting to strike. I was making breakfast for Jiho, my 4-year-old son, when I noticed the thick manila package. My hands trembled as I tore it open, still holding the spatula covered in scrambled eggs. The words swam before my eyes. Petition for full custody. Plaintiff, Kang Jihoon. The spatula clattered to the floor. Appa, you okay? Jiho's sweet voice cut through the ringing in my ears. I forced a smile, crouching down to his level. I'm fine, baby. Just clumsy today. But I wasn't fine. After 3 years of hiding, of building a quiet life in this small neighborhood where nobody knew my past, he had found us. Found me. Kang Jihoon. The name alone made my heart race with a confusing mixture of terror and something I refused to acknowledge. The father of my child. The man I'd loved with every fiber of my being. The Mafia king whose world of violence and blood I'd fled in the dead of night, our unborn son growing in my belly. I managed to get Jiho ready for preschool, going through the motions like a robot. Kiss on the forehead. Jacket zipped up. Lunchbox packed. The entire time, my mind screamed with questions. How did he find us? What did he want? Would he hurt Jiho to punish me? Despite everything, Jihoon had never been cruel. Dangerous, absolutely. But cruel? I wanted to believe he wasn't capable of that. I was wrong about so many things before. 2 weeks later, I stood outside the family court building, my legs refusing to move forward. My attorney, Mr. Park, a tired-looking man I could barely afford, waited at the entrance, checking his watch nervously. Mr. Lee, we need to go in, he urged when I finally reached him. The courtroom was smaller than I'd imagined. And there, on the other side, sat Jihoon. My breath caught in my throat. He looked exactly as I remembered, yet somehow different. Sharp jawline, dark hair perfectly styled, a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. But it was his eyes that stopped my heart. Those intense dark eyes that once looked at me with such warmth now seemed empty, calculating. Next to him sat not one attorney, but 5. 5 lawyers in expensive suits, each with sleek briefcases and confident smirks. I had Mr. Park, who was currently spilling coffee on his notes. All rise, the bailiff announced. The hearing began, and I quickly realized this wasn't a battle. It was a massacre. Jihoon's lead attorney, a sharp-faced woman named Ms. Choi, presented their case with surgical precision. She had photographs of my tiny apartment, highlighting the inadequate living space. She questioned my income from the cafe I managed, implying I couldn't provide properly for Jiho. She even had witnesses, people I'd never met, testifying to my supposedly erratic behavior and frequent absences. All lies. Carefully constructed, expensive lies. Mr. Park stumbled through his responses, objecting when he remembered to, but we both knew we were drowning. I couldn't take my eyes off Jihoon. He sat perfectly still, his face unreadable. Only once did he look at me directly, and the intensity of that gaze made my Omega instincts scream. Part of me wanted to submit, to bare my neck, to remember what it felt like to be held by him. The other part wanted to run. Your Honor, Ms. Choi continued, my client, Mr. Kang, can provide the child with the best education, healthcare, and opportunities. He has substantial resources and a stable home environment. The Omega parent, meanwhile, has been living in hiding, denying Mr. Kang his parental rights for 3 years. That's because I started to stand, but Mr. Park pulled me back down. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, raised her hand. You'll have your chance to speak, Mr. Lee. But when my turn came, the words tangled in my throat. How could I explain? How could I tell this courtroom that I fled because I discovered the man I loved ran an empire built on violence? That I'd overheard a conversation about a rival gang leader found dead in the river? That I was terrified my son would grow up in that world, seeing things no child should see? I was protecting my son, I managed to say, my voice shaking. Mr. Kang's lifestyle is dangerous. I couldn't. Dangerous. Ms. Choi interrupted smoothly. Your Honor, Mr. Kang is a successful businessman. These vague accusations without evidence are simply attempts to alienate a father from his child. Businessman. The word was technically true. Jihoon owned restaurants, nightclubs, real estate. All legitimate fronts for what really happened in the shadows. But I had no proof. Nothing concrete. Just fear and intuition and memories that might as well have been dreams in this sterile courtroom. The hearing ended with the judge ordering a full custody evaluation and setting another date. Temporary custody remained with me, but I could feel the ground shifting beneath my feet. Outside the courthouse, I gulped in fresh air, trying not to vomit from stress. Mr. Park was apologizing, explaining about continuances and building our case, but his words faded into background noise. Because Jihoon was walking toward me. His security team held back, giving us space. Up close, I could see the fine lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before. He stopped 3 feet away, close enough that I could smell his cologne. The same one that used to cling to my clothes, my skin, my sheets. Minho. My name in his voice was a weapon and a caress. Don't. I stepped back. You have no right. I have every right. He's my son. His voice was quiet, controlled, but something flickered in his eyes. Pain? Anger? You took him from me. Did you really think I wouldn't find you? I was protecting him from you. The words burst out before I could stop them. For a moment, just a moment, his mask slipped. I saw raw hurt cross his features before the ice returned. You didn't give me a choice. You didn't even tell me you were pregnant. Guilt twisted in my chest, but I pushed it away. What choice was there? You're careful, he interrupted softly, dangerously. Be very careful what you say without proof, Minho. We stood there, 2 people who once shared everything, now on opposite sides of a war. The autumn wind picked up, scattering leaves around our feet like casualties. I won't lose, Jihoon said finally. I have unlimited resources. The best lawyers. Every advantage. You can't win this fight. He turned and walked away, his security team falling into formation around him. I watched until his car, a sleek black vehicle that cost more than I'd earn in a lifetime, disappeared around the corner. My legs gave out. I sank onto the courthouse steps, buried my face in my hands, and finally let myself break down. He was right. I couldn't win. But I couldn't lose Jiho either. The black car appeared 3 days after the hearing. I was walking Jiho home from preschool, his small hand tucked in mine as he chattered about the butterfly he'd drawn in class. Then I saw it, parked across from the playground, windows tinted so dark I couldn't see inside. But I knew. My Omega instincts screamed danger, recognition. Appa, can we go on the swings? Jiho tugged at my hand. Not today, baby. Let's go home. The car followed us. Slowly. Obviously. A reminder that Jihoon knew exactly where we lived, where Jiho went to school, every step of our carefully constructed life. The next morning, the car was outside the cafe where I worked. Through the window, I watched it sit there for 3 hours during my shift. My hands shook so badly I dropped a cup, ceramic shattering across the floor like my nerves. Minho, you okay? My manager asked, concerned. I wasn't okay. I was being hunted. On Friday, I took Jiho to the park, our spot with the big oak tree and the duck pond. We just sat down with breadcrumbs when I felt it. That electric awareness that made every nerve ending come alive. Jihoon stood 50 feet away, leaning against a tree. He wasn't looking at me. His entire focus was on Jiho, who was laughing and throwing bread to the ducks, oblivious to his father's presence. Something in Jihoon's expression made my chest ache, a longing so raw it was almost painful to witness. He didn't approach, didn't speak, just watched his son like a starving man staring at a feast he couldn't touch. I should have left, should have grabbed Jiho and run. Instead, I stayed frozen, watching Jihoon watch our child. 20 minutes passed. Then Jihoon's phone rang. He answered it, his face hardening back into that cold mask. He glanced at me once, our eyes meeting across the distance, then walked away. My heart wouldn't stop pounding. The confrontation came on a rainy Tuesday evening. I was locking up the cafe, umbrella tucked under my arm, when he stepped out of the shadows. No security team this time. Just Jihoon, in dark jeans and a leather jacket, rain dampening his hair. We need to talk, he said. I have nothing to say to you. I fumbled with my keys, trying to get past him. His hand caught my wrist, gentle but firm. The touch sent electricity through my entire body, and I hated myself for it. Please. 5 minutes. There was something in his voice that made me stop. Not the commanding tone I expected, but something almost pleading. Fine. 5 minutes. We stood under the cafe's awning, rain drumming around us like a barrier separating us from the rest of the world. Up close, I could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. I don't want to take him from you, Jihoon said quietly. I want to know my son. You're a criminal, I shot back. You hurt people. I won't let you hurt him. I never knew. His voice cracked slightly. If you told me you were pregnant, if you'd given me a chance, I would have changed everything. Changed? You can't just stop being who you are, Jihoon. Can't I? He stepped closer, and I could smell rain and that familiar cologne. You didn't give me the chance to try. You made that decision for both of us. Guilt twisted in my stomach like a knife. I was scared. I saw things, heard things. And you ran. Without a word. Without letting me explain or defend myself or even know I was going to be a father. His eyes blazed now, years of pain and anger finally showing through. Do you have any idea what that did to me? I searched for you, Minho. For months. I thought you were dead. I thought. He stopped, jaw clenching, fighting for control. I thought you'd been taken by my enemies. That I'd failed to protect you. And then nothing. No trace. Like you'd never existed. His hand lifted, almost touching my face, then dropped. You destroyed me. Tears burned my eyes. You would have destroyed our son. That life, that world. I know, he interrupted softly. You're right. That world is poison. But he's my son too, Minho. I missed 3 years. His first words. His first steps. Everything. The rain fell harder, but neither of us moved. The court-ordered visitations started the following week. A social worker supervised the first meeting at a neutral location, a bright, cheerful room with toys and books. I sat in the corner, stomach churning as Jihoon met Jiho for the first time as his father. Hi, Jihoon said, crouching to Jiho's level. His hands were shaking slightly. I'm a friend of your Appa's. Jiho, naturally friendly, smiled. Do you like dinosaurs? I have a T-Rex. I love dinosaurs. Watching them together hurt in ways I couldn't describe. Jihoon was awkward, clearly out of his element, but he tried. He listened to Jiho's rambling stories about preschool. He built block towers and let Jiho knock them down, laughing. He was patient when Jiho showed him how to properly hold a toy truck. He was gentle. Over the next few weeks, the visits continued. Jihoon showed up exactly on time, always bringing something small, a book, a toy, once a stuffed otter that became Jiho's new favorite. He never tried to buy Jiho's affection with expensive gifts. He just tried to be a father. And Jiho adored him. Appa, when is Mr. Kang coming again? Jiho asked one night at bedtime. My heart clenched. In 2 days, baby. Good. He's nice. He tells funny voices for all the story characters. I tucked the blanket around him, fighting tears. This was what I'd been afraid of, Jiho bonding with Jihoon, making this whole situation impossibly more complicated. Everything shattered on a cold November evening. I was walking Jiho to my car after a visit when 3 men appeared from nowhere. I saw the guns first, then recognized the tattoos, a rival gang's markings. Kang Jihoon, one shouted. This is for... Jihoon moved like lightning. He shoved me and Jiho behind him, his body a shield. The gunshot was deafening in the parking garage. Then chaos, Jihoon's security team appearing, shouting, bodies hitting the ground. I covered Jiho with my body, his screams muffled against my chest. It lasted maybe 30 seconds but felt like hours. When silence fell, Jihoon was there, kneeling beside us. Blood streaked his jacket, not his own, I realized. His hands were shaking as they hovered over us, checking for injuries. Are you hurt? Is he hurt? His voice was raw with panic. We're okay, I gasped. We're... Then Jihoon was pulling us both into his arms, holding us so tight I could barely breathe. I felt his heart hammering against my cheek, felt his breath ragged in my hair. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "God, I'm so sorry. This is exactly what you were afraid of." For the first time in 3 years, I let myself be held by him. Let myself remember what it felt like to be safe in his arms, even though the danger had come because of him. Jiho was crying, and Jihoon gently took him from me, cradling our son against his chest. "It's okay," he murmured, voice surprisingly steady now. "You're safe. I've got you. I've got both of you." Later, after police statements and medical checks, Jihoon drove us home in his car. At my apartment door, he turned to me with an expression I'd never seen before, complete devastation mixed with fierce determination. "I'll end this," he said. "I'll make you both safe. Whatever it takes. You can't just watch me." He cupped my face with one hand, his thumb brushing my cheek. "You were right about everything, Minho. That world is no place for our son. Or for you." Then he was gone, leaving me in my doorway, heart racing, everything I thought I knew crumbling around me. The news broke 2 weeks after the attack. I was serving coffee when a customer's phone screen caught my eye. Mafia King Kang Jihoon dismantling criminal empire. Sources say he's walking away. My hands went numb. The coffee pot slipped, but I caught it just in time. It couldn't be real. People like Jihoon didn't just walk away. That world didn't let you leave. But over the following days, more reports surfaced. Businesses being sold. Territory handed over. Jihoon was systematically destroying everything he'd built. He was keeping his promise. My phone rang that evening. His voice was tired. "Can I see you?" "Without Jiho. Just us." I should have said no. Instead, I found myself agreeing. We met at a quiet restaurant on the edge of the city. Jihoon sat across from me, and I barely recognized him. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. His usually perfect appearance was slightly disheveled, tie loosened, hair falling across his forehead. "You look terrible," I said before I could stop myself. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "Dismantling a criminal empire is exhausting work." "Why are you doing this?" "You know why." His eyes met mine, intense and sincere. "You were right, Minho. That life is poison. I can't be the father our son deserves while living in that world. I can't." He paused, jaw tightening. "I can't have you looking at me with fear in your eyes anymore." My chest ached. "Jihoon, I was born into this," he continued quietly. "My father ran the organization before me. I never had a choice, or I thought I didn't. When you left, I convinced myself I had nothing else. That this was all I was meant to be." He leaned forward. "But then I saw Jiho at that park. I saw what I'd been missing. What I could have had." "You can't just stop being who you are," I whispered, echoing my own words from weeks ago. "Watch me," he said again, but this time it sounded like a plea. "I'm trying, Minho. I'm really trying." Something in my chest cracked open. This wasn't the cold, calculating Mafia king from the courtroom. This was the man I'd fallen in love with, vulnerable, determined, fighting for something that mattered. "It's dangerous," I said. "People will come after you." "I know. That's why I need to finish this quickly." He reached across the table, his hand stopping just short of mine. "Trust me. Please. Just a little longer." I should have pulled away. Instead, I closed the distance, my fingers intertwining with his. His breath caught. For a moment, we just sat there, holding hands across a table like we used to, before everything fell apart. Over the next month, Jihoon became a constant presence in our lives. He started picking Jiho up from preschool with me, the three of us forming an awkward but increasingly natural unit. We'd go to the park, get ice cream, read bedtime stories together. Jihoon was patient with Jiho, always listening, never dismissive. He learned our routines, remembered Jiho's favorite foods, noticed when our son was tired or upset. He was becoming a real father. And I was falling for him all over again. It happened in small moments. The way he'd catch my eye over Jiho's head and smile. How he'd brush past me in my tiny kitchen, his hand briefly touching my waist. The night he stayed late helping Jiho with a puzzle, and I found them both asleep on the couch, our son curled against Jihoon's chest. I took a photo of them like that, my heart too full for words. One evening, after putting Jiho to bed, we sat together on my apartment's small balcony. The city lights twinkled below us, and the autumn air was crisp. "Tell me about when you found out you were pregnant," Jihoon said softly. I'd never told him this story. I was terrified. I'd just discovered who you really were, what you did. I'd heard you on the phone disposing of someone. I wrapped my arms around myself. Then I took the pregnancy test, and all I could think was, I can't bring a baby into that world. So you left. I left, I confirmed. I withdrew all my savings, bought a bus ticket, and disappeared. I kept moving for months, always looking over my shoulder. When Jiho was born, my voice cracked. I held him and cried because I wished you could see him. Even after everything, I wished you were there. Jihoon's hand found mine in the darkness. I wish I had been. I should have told you, I admitted. I should have given you a chance to choose. That wasn't fair to you or to Jiho. You were protecting our son. I can't fault you for that. He squeezed my hand. But I'm here now. And I'm not going anywhere. We sat in silence, hands linked, something unspoken growing between us. Minho, he said finally. Can I? His phone rang, shattering the moment. His expression darkened as he checked the screen. I have to take this. He stepped away, voice low and tense. I couldn't hear the words, but the tone made my stomach drop. When he returned, his face was pale. We need to leave. All of us. What? Why? My former second-in-command, he's not accepting my departure. He's coming after me, and he knows about you and Jiho. Jihoon was already moving, checking windows, his protective instincts in full force. Pack a bag. Quickly. We have maybe 20 minutes. Fear seized my chest. Jihoon. Trust me, he said urgently. Please. I'll keep you both safe, but we need to go now. I ran to Jiho's room, throwing clothes into a bag with shaking hands. Jihoon gently lifted our sleeping son, wrapping him in a blanket. Jiho stirred but didn't wake. We made it to the parking garage when I heard the footsteps, multiple sets, echoing in the concrete space. Too late, Jihoon muttered. He handed Jiho to me. Stay behind me. No matter what happens, stay behind me. 5 men emerged from the shadows. The leader, a man with a scar across his jaw, smiled coldly. Jihoon, you really thought you could just walk away? After everything we built together? This doesn't involve them, Kangdae, Jihoon said calmly, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. Let them go. Let them go. Kangdae laughed. You abandoned us for an Omega and a child. You made us weak. Now you'll watch as I take everything from you, just like you took everything from us. The men moved forward. What happened next was chaos. Jihoon fought like a demon, taking down 2 men before the others overwhelmed him. I screamed, clutching Jiho, who was crying now, frightened and confused. Then headlights flooded the garage. Cars screeched to a halt, Jihoon's security team finally arriving. The fight turned brutal. Kangdae grabbed me, a knife pressed to my throat. Stop, he shouted. Everyone stop, or the Omega dies. The garage went silent. Jihoon froze, blood trickling from his lip, eyes locked on the knife at my throat. I'd never seen such raw terror on his face. Please, Jihoon said, and his voice broke. Please. Take me. Kill me. But let them go. They're innocent in this. How touching, Kangdae sneered. The great Kang Jihoon, begging? I didn't think. I just acted. I dropped suddenly, throwing Kangdae off balance. Jihoon lunged forward, and within seconds, it was over. Kangdae was on the ground, disarmed, surrounded. Jihoon pulled me and Jiho into his arms, his whole body shaking. You're okay. You're both okay. But we weren't okay. Not yet. The safe house was a cabin 2 hours outside the city, surrounded by pine trees and silence. We spent 3 days there while Jihoon's team dealt with Kangdae and the remaining threats. 3 days of forced proximity, of healing wounds both physical and emotional. Jihoon had bruised ribs and a split lip. I had nightmares every time I closed my eyes. But Jiho, resilient as children are, thought it was an adventure. Appa, look, Mr. Kang is teaching me to skip rocks, he called from the lake's edge on the second day. I watched from the cabin porch as Jihoon crouched beside our son, demonstrating the proper wrist flick. The afternoon sun caught in Jihoon's dark hair, and when he laughed at Jiho's enthusiastic but terrible attempt, something in my chest settled into place. This was what I'd been afraid to want. What I'd convinced myself we could never have. That night, after Jiho fell asleep between us on the large bed, refusing to sleep alone after the garage incident, Jihoon and I sat by the fireplace with tea. It's over, he said quietly. Kang Dae and his followers are in custody. The police have enough evidence to put them away for decades. My lawyers made a deal, full cooperation in exchange for immunity. Immunity, I repeated. So you're really out? I'm really out. He set down his mug, turning to face me fully. I've transferred the legitimate businesses to trusted managers. Everything else is gone. Dismantled. I'm starting over, Minho. Completely. What will you do? A small smile touched his lips. I'm starting a security company. Using my skills for protection instead of destruction. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work. He paused. I want to be someone our son can be proud of. Tears burned my eyes. He already is proud of you. He talks about you constantly. And you? Jihoon's voice dropped lower. What do you feel about me? The question hung between us like a spark waiting to ignite. I'd been avoiding this, avoiding examining the feelings that had been growing stronger every day. I'm terrified, I admitted. You broke my heart once. You could do it again. I won't. He shifted closer, his hand cupping my face with infinite gentleness. I know I don't deserve another chance. I know I have years of trust to rebuild. But Minho, I never stopped loving you. Not for a single day. My breath caught. Jihoon. You don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know. His thumb brushed my cheekbone, and I leaned into the touch helplessly. I'll spend the rest of my life proving I've changed. That I can be the man you need. The father Jiho deserves. I closed the distance between us, pressing my lips to his. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, like we were both afraid of breaking something precious. Then Jihoon's arms wrapped around me, pulling me closer, and the kiss deepened. Years of longing and pain and love poured between us. When we finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Jihoon pressed his forehead to mine. I love you, I whispered. I never stopped either. Even when I hated you, I loved you. His smile was brilliant, transforming his entire face. We're going to make this work. I promise. The final custody hearing arrived 2 weeks later. But this time, everything was different. Jihoon and I arrived together, hands clasped tightly. His lawyers looked confused when Jihoon dismissed them, saying he'd speak for himself. Mr. Park looked even more confused when I did the same. The judge peered at us over her glasses. This is highly irregular. Mr. Lee, are you withdrawing your opposition to the custody petition? Yes, Your Honor, I said, standing. I'd like to request joint custody instead. Equal parenting time. Surprised murmurs rippled through the courtroom. The judge's eyebrows rose. Mr. Kang, is this acceptable to you? Jihoon stood beside me. Actually, Your Honor, I'd like to propose something different. My heart skipped. We hadn't discussed this. I don't want shared custody where we pass our son back and forth like a package, Jihoon continued. I want us to be a family. A real one. He turned to me, and suddenly he was kneeling right there in the courtroom, pulling a small box from his pocket. I stopped breathing. Minho, he said, his voice carrying through the silent room. 3 years ago, I lost you because I was living a life of darkness. You took our son and ran, and I don't blame you, I blame myself. But I've changed. I've left that world behind, and I'm building something new. Something good. His eyes shimmered with emotion. I want to build it with you. Marry me. Let me be your husband, Jiho's father, and the man who spends every day earning your trust. Tears streamed down my face. The entire courtroom seemed to hold its breath. You're insane, I whispered. Proposing in court. Is that a yes? I laughed through my tears, pulling him to his feet. Yes, you absolute fool. Yes. The courtroom erupted in applause. Even the stern judge was smiling. Jihoon slipped the ring onto my finger, a simple silver band that fit perfectly, and kissed me like we weren't standing in front of dozens of witnesses. When we finally broke apart, the judge was shaking her head with amusement. Well, this is a first in my 30 years on the bench. I assume you're both requesting to withdraw the custody case entirely. Yes, Your Honor, we said in unison. Then case dismissed. Congratulations. She banged her gavel. And may I suggest you two get some family counseling. You've had quite the journey. 6 months later, I stood in the kitchen of our new home, a comfortable house in the suburbs with a big backyard and room to grow, watching Jihoon and Jiho play in the garden. Jihoon's security company had taken off quickly. He employed former military personnel and even some reformed individuals from his old life, giving them second chances like he'd received. He worked hard but was home every evening for dinner. We'd gotten married in a small ceremony 2 months ago, with Jiho as our ring bearer, proudly announcing to everyone that his appa and papa are getting married. Life wasn't perfect. Jihoon still had nightmares about his past. I still sometimes woke in a panic, afraid this was all a dream. But we were healing together. Appa! Jiho called. Come play with us. I walked out into the sunshine. Jihoon looked up, grass stains on his jeans, smile bright and unguarded. He held out his hand and I took it, letting him pull me down into the grass beside them. Was it worth it? I asked softly, watching Jiho chase a butterfly. Giving up everything? Jihoon's arm wrapped around my shoulders, pulling me close. His lips brushed my temple. I didn't give up everything, Minho. I gained everything. He gestured to Jiho, then to the house, then cupped my face gently. This is everything. The rest was just noise. Jiho crashed into us, giggling, and we fell back together into the grass, a tangle of limbs and laughter. Above us, the sky was impossibly blue, and for the first time in years, I felt completely safe. Jihoon kissed me, soft and sweet, while Jiho made exaggerated gagging sounds beside us. Gross. Papa and Appa are kissing again. We laughed, and the sound carried on the breeze, the sound of a family, finally whole. Later that evening, after Jiho was asleep, Jihoon and I sat on our porch swing, my head on his shoulder, his fingers playing with my wedding ring. Do you ever regret it? I asked. Miss the power, the control? Never, he said firmly. That man died the day I held our son for the first time. The day I realized what I'd almost lost. He tilted my chin up, his dark eyes full of love. You saved me, Minho. Both of you. You gave me a reason to be better. We saved each other, I corrected. He smiled, that beautiful smile that was mine alone now, and kissed me as the stars appeared overhead, a promise of all the quiet, peaceful nights ahead of us. Our family was complete. Our war was over. And love finally had what